For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad and marketing gunslinger, and not the rock star. And with me is a true rock star. As you always know, I've got David Mayo Loomis in the house with me today, but he is better known as
the Dave Loomis.
And I call him Mr. Voice because of that. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you remind me of Frank Sinatra and, those guys with the Perry Como.
So, my go-to song for karaoke happens to be My Way.
My Way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the one. Okay.
Yeah, except it sounds good to me.
Someday we will.
It sounds really good to me.
To me. So, yeah. So, you and I have not talked. You're a new grandpa. You got busy with that. You have clients. You were telling before we came on. We were just talking about a new client of yours, and let's give them a pit. Let's give a shout out to your new client. Who's your new client?
Yeah, it's the Vehicle Services Group of Dover Industries.
Dover.
Yeah,
Dover Industries.
Great,
and they have
company.
Great company. It's going to be greater.
It's so well run.
Yeah, and it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be better runner.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. They're
runner
going to be
better.
Firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
In the Vehicle Services Group.
Yeah, and they'll even add a cylinder after they start working with it.
They might. Yeah.
So because of that, we haven't really talked about what we're going to talk about this week. So I don't really have a topic. Do you have something?
I don't, unfortunately.
You don't have a topic.
I'm
all right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to find something.
Do you have something? Do you?
For those of you that are listening, okay, and not watching, I'm looking around my office for something to talk about. Oh wait, here's something we can talk about. How about this? How about we talk about this book?
Okay, what's that one called? I can't see it.
I can see it right. I can see it really well because it's got orange on it, just like
perfect. Very nice.
Just like I'm wearing. Just like I'm wearing. Okay, and this book is called "Marketing is Everything We Do," and it just so happens that we have the author with us today, specially flown in on Spirit Airlines to visit with us today. And you happen to be that guy.
Wow. What a coincidence. That's funny. We didn't have a topic last week, and we talked about your book, your new book.
That's crazy.
And then Stealing Genius.
Stealing Genius.
And then now we can talk about my book. That sounds like a great idea. Why
I know.
not?
Let's talk about your book. Let's sell some of your books. All right.
Let's do it, because I have to I gave away like 14 to my new client yesterday. Good
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I had a new author, and for those of you if you're authors or anything like that, give away as many books as you can. Don't sweat how much it costs you to give them away. All right. It's your best marketing brochure. All right. So don't lose sleep over that. So anyway, so marketing is everything we do. Now, I read this months ago when you and I first got connected.
Right.
I went and got it. And and you can tell I went and got it because it's not signed. All right. So,
I'm
which,
sorry.
you
I
know,
have to
it's not like
send you a signed copy.
no. I'll send this one back to you. So anyway, and I got to tell you, I really liked the book, and if I hadn't liked the book, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast.
That's probably true. Do you have it on your bedside table for quick reference?
I usually do, except Kay's been pounding through this thing recently.
I see. Okay.
So it's on her side of the bed, and actually, I had to go get it and put it down here so I could act like I found it down here.
Yeah, there you
go. So anyway, so let's we're going to talk about this because this is you and I, we share a lot of things that we both agree on and stuff like that. But at the same time, when you read our books, you're going to hear a different voice.
Yes.
In the books, and it starts right with the title. Okay, I make up language, with Uncopyable and Stealing Genius and stuff like this. But this thing, it tells you what is really, really important.
It does.
Basically, this is the whole book. All right. That the title of Marketing is Everything We Do. So I want to hear up front first. Okay. Where did you learn this, or where did you, come up with this idea, this concept? And what do you mean by that? So let's start with where did the phrase marketing is everything we do? Where'd that come from?
You'll love this because I stole it.
So
you love it already.
Yes,
so you love it already.
I love it already.
I do give credit to the person I stole it from.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Cliff Knowles, and Cliff and Ann Knowles owned a little marketing firm that I worked for in Chicago, and it was fun times. It was a little startup firm in the heart of downtown Chicago by the L tracks. In a loft building in the early days of loft offices. They don't call it
the L tracks in Chicago. They call it the L.
It was next to the L.
It's just next to the L.
Yeah.
But for people who don't live in Chicago or haven't been around
That's
Chicago,
why I said it that way.
You have to tell them L tracks, right?
That's why I said it that way.
Yeah. Above ground subway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The L.
Yeah.
Elevated. So we did a project. We were doing a big project. Cliff and Ann were with Sears Logistics Services. So people don't know this, but they had a whole arm of Sears that used to do their home delivery. And so they would contract out to local delivery companies in different places. And those local delivery places would do the home delivery of the furniture that you bought at Sears or the appliances or all sorts of things. And of course, you're going to completely relate to this because when that person or couple people deliver that merchandise, they make an impression on the customer.
Yes.
And they're supposed to represent Sears. And what was happening was it was very inconsistent. It was all over the place. It was they would show up and they didn't look good. They were wearing ragged clothes and they smelled like smoke because they were smoking in the truck and they were probably swearing and chewing tobacco and spitting into the corner of the customer's house, things like that.
My kind of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Cliff and Ann basically went on a national tour training all of the home delivery, the actual drivers.
No kidding.
Of home delivery. And the whole theme of the training was marketing is everything we do.
Wow.
And what does that mean? Well, it means that those people, the delivery people, if you ask them, well, what is marketing? They would probably say, I don't know. Or they might say, well, it's those brochures that you hand out, because we used to print brochures in the old days. Or they'd say, oh, it's those Sears TV commercials that I see. And so, yeah, that's great because it gives us business. That's marketing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And Cliff tried to explain, well, not really. Anytime a customer comes in contact with the company, that's marketing. And because it's giving an impression of the brand, and the brand, as you know, is a promise of an experience.
Right.
And so they wanted to teach people that. And I never forgot it.
Mm-hmm.
I never forgot that phrase. I was a true believer from the very beginning in that concept. And then I taught a class at Case Weatherhead School of Management for a few years. It was a business school class that I taught at night while I was working. And every other slide practically, but every class for sure, flashed either at the beginning or randomly in the middle or at the end or all.
Mm-hmm.
I would have this phrase up there. And by the end, they were just so sick of hearing about it. They could recite it. Everybody, because it was the point I was trying to make. And I've heard from students, one student got a job because she explained to the person interviewing her that marketing is everything we do. And she told me about that whole thing. And then I just had breakfast earlier this week with a former student who now works at maybe ICI Paints or something like that in product management, very successful person. And he told me, he said, you know what? The one thing from all of business school, any class, that I A, remember, and B, use all the time is that phrase.
Yeah. And I can understand that. I can totally understand that. And because like you say, that it's one of those, it's like a mantra. And that absolutely, if you embrace it and believe in it and practice it and live it, then it can make a difference.
Yeah, it really can. And I'll just say one more thing about it, and then I'll be quiet and let you ask something else.
All I'm going to do is ask questions. So.
Yeah. So if somebody is listening right now and wants to know how to apply this to their own business, all I can say is pay attention to every single little detail of your business. The packaging, the communication, the way someone answers the phone, there is nothing that should not be considered from the eyes of the customer, and you can just continually improve and fix things and make them better and better.
Right. Yeah, and so, I completely.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of and I cannot remember his name. I know he was like some guy named Sir or something Lake, the guy who had Airbus, started the Airbus Airlines.
Okay.
No, not Airbus. What was? No, it was called Airbus, I think.
Are you
years ago?
Okay.
What? Am I what?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, he said he was well known for saying, if the flip down trays are dirty, that means you don't maintain your engines. And so in other words, everything walks the talk. Okay. If you want these people, if people turn a flip tray down on the airplane and it's dirty, they might think, oh my gosh, I'm never flying this airline again. Because if this is dirty, they don't take care of the engines. And I don't want to be on an airplane that they're not taking care of the engines, So like you say, everything walks the talk, and it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there is some kind of touch point. And I don't remember. I'm blanking on the name of the book too. That Jan Carlson, when he was CEO.
Oh, Moments of Truth.
Moments of Truth. See, that's what you're talking about. Are you talking about that everything is a moment of truth?
Yes.
Every time you touch the customer or the prospect or have some kind of communication, and that's why the phrase "marketing is everything," that we do is so powerful, Now, one of the things that I notice in the book, though, that you don't spend as much time talking about marketing the product as much as you talk about the customer.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's true. I suppose I never really thought about it, but
but you talk about the service, taking care of the customers and all this. This is all marketing, right?
Yeah, it all goes together. But you do have to. You actually do have to have the right product.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to fight that part, but you have to. I mean, you certainly have to have a product that the people want and agree that they want.
Yes.
Okay. But then, part of this is also that they have a choice. They can either they can choose you, they can choose a competitor, they can choose an alternative, or they can choose to do nothing.
That is true.
All right. So when you talk about marketing kind of from that perspective, now I know I said you sort of stress service, but you kind of talk about let me skip to a point that you make in the book that I thought was really interesting, because we're talking about, as a business, we need to embrace this.
Yes.
Okay? But how do we get there to where we understand that it's everything that we do? And you talked about, and I don't know if this relates to it or not, but you talk in there about outcome statements. So you're kind of you're kind of defining the marketing part and and what you should be doing and how you should be talking to your customers and stuff like that.
Yes. So let me bridge the gap that you just explained. Or just pointed out.
I just created a gap.
You pointed out a gap.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna bridge it really quickly here, because the subtitle of the book is How Serving Others Brings Success in Business and in Life. And so the term
that's the service part I was talking about.
Serving is in there. Service.
I'm sorry. I should have used the word serving.
But
service.
What I would argue is that if you are truly serving your customer or customers or prospects or what have you, then what you're doing is you're trying to help them. You're trying to walk in their shoes. You're trying to understand what they need, what they're trying to accomplish, what their problems are, what their challenges are, etc. And then if you're good at what you're doing, you're solving something for them that's better than other alternatives. Now, how do you get there? And part of that has to do with the outcome statement that I talk about. And that actually I stole that too. Everything that's great is stolen. And I got this one from Tony Ulwick, from the consulting firm Stratagen. And there's something outcome-driven innovation that he talks about. And he came up with an outcome statement, the idea. But a lot of people have picked up on this and moved it forward in many, many ways, and rightfully so, because it's extremely helpful. So when you're speaking with a customer about their needs, what we want to do is drive to the conversation to better understanding what it is they're trying to accomplish, and in many ways. There can be many outcome statements related to a customer's needs. And what most often happens when you talk to customers is either you fall into a trap and you start selling, or you fall into a trap and you start solving, and you try and actually solution something right there with them in the moment. But what you really should be doing is spending your time uncovering these different outcomes and then confirming with them what the outcome statement is. So I'll just give you an example. Here's just an example. So you can make conveyor belts. You make conveyors that unload iron ore from a big iron ore ship and these are black granules of iron ore that they're all in the hold of this giant ship, and it's got to get out of there, and it's got to get onto the ground into a big pile that then gets thrown into a steel mill and used in the steel making process. Mm-hmm. So if you make that conveyor, there's a pretty good chance that customer is going to talk to you about problems that they're having. And the customer is most often going to give you their ideas of how to fix it. So they're going to say things like, oh, you know what? Could you get a turbo booster on this? And the salesperson goes, well, heck yeah, because everybody's telling me that. So I'm going back and I'm telling our product managers they got to get a turbo booster on this. They also say, you know what? Could you, and they're going to draw a little picture on a napkin at dinner and say, I've got an idea for you to redesign the little the conveyor belt pattern on the rubber catches because this would be better. Or I think you ought to put a support beam underneath the conveyor in this place. Those are all potentially good ideas, but maybe not. Maybe those aren't the right ways to do it. But what is the customer really trying to tell you? Well, if you turn it around and suggest an outcome statement and confirm it with them, that's the best thing that you can do, because then your R&D can work on it and they can throw the customer's idea into the hopper. No pun intended. But that might be the answer or part of the answer, but there might be something completely different or out of the box. So the outcome statement for the things that I just said is, I want to minimize time required for the iron ore to move from the boat to the shore. Mm-hmm. In other words, that's about speed. But maybe there's a different way to do it, right? A turbo booster, that's just the obvious thing. Oh, just make the engine faster and it goes faster. But maybe there's something different. I want to maximize the weight, weight capacity of the of that conveyor. Mm-hmm. In other words, the customer said put a support beam under it, but I want to minimize iron ore slippage on the conveyor when it's at a certain angle. Okay, let your R&D guys design the pattern on the rubber. So mm-hmm. You guys, I think you get the idea. That's what outcome statements are all about.
Let me let me ask you this, okay? Because when you talk about if they say put a turbo booster on,
yep,
all right. The salesperson comes back and says, I need you to put a turbo booster on this.
Yep.
Okay. And you ask the question, why? The salesperson's answer is going to be, because I can sell a lot of those.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, what you're saying is the answer should be, when they ask, why should I do that? The answer should be, because that is the best solution for our customer. Okay. All right. Because that will take care of the problems that our customer have.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one. I'm gonna plus that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're gonna plus me, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do something. I don't know what it is that I'm about to do, but you tell me afterwards. When the customer tells that salesperson, "Hey, put the turbo booster on," instead of just writing that down and taking it back to the home office, that salesperson should say, "Tell me more about that."
Right.
Why? How would that help you? And when that problem happens, what's the impact on you? What's the impact on your business? And they're gonna get more information about it.
Yeah.
So we even start to build what is the value of doing this. And then when the salesperson gets back, they can go ahead and say, hey, the customer told me to that we need a turbo booster, and we've heard this a lot. And what's behind it is that they want to minimize the time required to, unload this, or
Right.
because they have limited time, and I'm told that it's $1 million,
Right.
an hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we could take that, we could reduce their operating costs by, doing that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that, see, yeah, and we call this a marketing situation. The reason why and actually, you know what? I'm going to stop right there because I want to ask you this. All right. Because we're referring to salespeople conversations,
Yeah.
like a salesperson having a conversation.
Yeah.
But the book is about marketing. Okay. How do I balance this in my head? How do I justify this in my head? Because I have an answer, but
Yeah.
I want to hear if you have something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, marketing is everything we do. So everybody in the company really does marketing, whether they know it or not,
Including the salespeople.
including the salespeople. And the reason why this is marketing is because marketing is just exchanging goods. It's a trade. You're trading something of value for someone else. That's where the word even came from, going to the market square, and you take your goods that you grew or that you made or whatever, and you go and you trade them. And that happened even before there was money. Tribes and things like that, trading things, and you wouldn't make an unfair trade. So to make a fair trade, to actually optimize what you get in return, the thing that you make, you ask the customer what they need, and you do a better job of creating something that's of value to them. To me, that's marketing.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. Because when I hear a salesperson, you know what, and this is a rap on salespeople, but please don't think this is a rap, because I used to be a salesperson and I made these mistakes myself. Where I might be talking to somebody and they might say, "Hey, you put a turbo boost in this, and it will make a big, and
Yep.
and the rest of the sentence that is not necessarily said is, and I'll buy that from you." Okay, you put a turbo booster on there, and I will buy that from you. And all the salesperson hears is, "I will buy that from you." All right. When what the salesperson should be doing is thinking down the road. All right, thinking past this moment and thinking, okay, yeah, he might buy this, but is this actually going to solve his problem? Is this actually going to is this something that others would be interested in too? So like you were saying that he should be taking this conversation past, just that simple statement.
Yeah, way past. The other thing is, that's actually one of the real errors that that companies make by just sort of automatically responding to customer requests. It seems counterintuitive because you're like, oh, I got to do exactly what the customer asked for. But sometimes that can involve time and money and investment on your part. And the customer says they'll buy it. But how do they even know? They don't even know how much what they requested is going to cost, and what impact that's going to have on the price.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't even be pricing that way anyway. You should be pricing on the value that you're delivering, which was another one of our episodes.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But this goes into that, and I incorrectly used the word service earlier when I was saying this. You were talking about serving.
Yes.
Serving, and the reason why I'm kind of kicking myself right now is because I have often said to people, we should stop using the term customer service. We should be thinking in terms of customer serving. Those are two.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
There we go. Here we go again. Okay. All right. But now I'm going to take it to where you talk about a term that now, as far as I can tell, you came up with this term.
I did. I've Googled the heck out of it.
From somebody else. You came up with the term servant innovation, right?
That is correct.
Servant innovation.
Yes.
Now, where did that come from? How did you come up with it? And how does it fit into this conversation?
Well, I love the servant leadership was a term that I didn't come up with. That was that was 50 years ago when that was actually come up with by a guy who retired from GE and wrote a little pamphlet. That's what it was called back then. I'm going to write a pamphlet on this idea. And originally, servant leadership was about how leaders in organizations should sort of put themselves on the same level as everyone that works at the company and really serve even those employees. It was more of an internally focused concept at the time, to sort of combat the fact that, there's some, founder or leader or CEO that's in an ivory tower that can't be bothered with, all the peons that work at the company.
Right.
And so this was a real turnaround. But so I took that. I read a lot about servant innovation, and I took this concept and I said, okay, let's make it go outward towards customers, and that a company in general and individuals at a company should be literally servants to our customers.
Right.
Why not? Right? And how could that apply to innovation? And what I thought was that there's two parts to it to make it work. One is you have to do what we were just talking about, which is really keep your finger on the pulse of what those customer needs are.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to turn on a dime if necessary to change even what the main product or service that your company does, because the world changes and their needs change, and companies get stuck they get stuck because something that they build is very popular. So they build more of it, and then they build factories that cost a lot of money to build and tool and pay rent, and they hire a bunch of people to go out and sell that stuff.
Yep.
And they get caught because there's overhead to all that, and they can't turn on a dime. That's the cash cow, right? That's
right.
That's their bread and butter. So how can they not sell that anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do a little incremental stuff on the side to keep current, but we're going to keep our cash cow going.
Right.
And there goes, 100 examples of what you can think of products that have gone out of favor and companies that have gone under because they just didn't see the writing on the wall. So there's to me, there's two parts of servant innovation. One is you have to have your finger on the pulse, and you need to really get out there and be sure of what's happening with your customer base or prospects and that sort of thing. And so, but it's not enough to come up with that idea of where you want to pivot or pirouette, as you say.
Thank you.
Yep. You also have to have the foresight to create a cost structure in your company that's more flexible. So plan for the future. So, to the extent that you can rent space instead of own it, or even use contractors instead of full-time employees, or just have it in your plan, in your strategic plan, that, hey, if we had to pivot or pirouette, we would be able to do it because we have a flexible cost structure that allows us to change things up if necessary. That's
and that is an important component of marketing. Is the ability to do all of that stuff, because sales, it's that old adage of ask the customer what he wants and then give it to him.
Yes.
Right. And that's selling. But that is a short-term view of business. It's a short-term view of creating long-term relationships. And And I think it's a short-term view of taking care of the customer.
Yeah. And so this is sort of the long view for sure, because you don't, sort of change your cost structure overnight. But if you're a new company starting up, or you've got a spin-off or something like that, just do it from the beginning. Now, sourcing is part of that too. So sourcing things instead of owning them or building them yourselves. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's risks involved in everything. Right now, if you're listening, this is May of 2022 when we're recording this, and there's supply chain issues all over the world right now that have fouled things up for people.
Yep.
So you can go too far. You can source too much. Or if you single source from somewhere like China or Russia or something, you might be in trouble.
That can bite you in the butt too.
Correct.
All right. So wrap this up for me with what would you say the whole, and it might just be back to the title again, what is the message from your book?
I would say walk in your customers' shoes as much as possible, and be a servant to them. And it does go back to the title. Obviously, marketing is everything we do. But underneath that, the reality is, check your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. Be as humble as you possibly can, because you know what? When you do that, it feels so much better, and you'll be built up because of all the great things that you're doing for that customer, instead of them yelling at you and giving you poor scores on your Net Promoter Score and all that. You're just gonna get love. You're gonna get love from those customers. You're gonna get, all those letters are going to pour in, emails, and
that's right.
Great. And I know love Net Promoter Score, so you'll get high Net Promoter Score, which is obviously the whole purpose of business is to get a high Net Promoter Score.
That's right. The whole purpose is. So, All right, now I'm going to flip. We're going to flip the script here because we are out of time.
All right, you're going to take us out?
And I'm going to take us out.
All right, because I've done a lot of talking.
I know. You've done the talking, and this has been, your thing. So I think that I should take us out. I brought us in. I'll take us out. If you have not gotten the book, Marketing is Everything We Do, you should go get it. Go get it. And if you read it like I did, you will highlight practically every page. And I use little Post-it flags on it. Well, I got so many flags waving, on my book. They're just all kinds of flags waving on that book there, and you'll love it. You will thank me for it. You will actually call me and thank me for it. So anyway,
Steve didn't even write it.
And that's right. And then I'll have to pass your thanks on to.
Okay, right. The love you'll get.
Dave. That's right. Because Dave is well known. He's Mr. Voice. He's the voice.
But I would start with Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, yeah. I'll be the conduit.
Yeah,
okay?
Please do.
So this has been another episode of the Marketing and Sales Broadcast. I will never get it right.
Don't forget B2B.
The B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you joining us. If you like us, please like us and share us and subscribe and comment and tell your friends and give us away as a gift to somebody else, And until then, for Mr. Voice, Grandpa David Mayo Loomis, I'm Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger, not the rock star, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.